The papers are here. A quick look at the front pages and what we have. The Finder begins this morning and says ECG deals 6 shortlisted for concession despite workers' stiff position. That's on the front page of the Finder. Other stories includes that of the BEC results to be released from September 12. The Ghanaian Times says poet laureate storms out of event over wrong spelling of her name. Professor Matedu is the one. We'll talk about that later on. The General Telegraph says Electoral Commission starts transfer of vote exercise to last 4 weeks. It comes with a photograph of the chairperson, and NDC to launch manifesto on September 7. Days of NPP's September launch, however, remains undisclosed. The Daily Graphic says, where are the manifestos 3 months to elections? The public wants to know. This story will be the focus of our attention this morning. And then Ghana makes headway with IMF program. Mr. Setekpe's photograph here. 50 national service persons to study abroad on SIBA ticket. We'll talk about that later on. The BNFT says UK targets record high trade with Ghana by 2020 and 1.5 billion Tema port project sparks local content concerns. The Ghanaian Observer says Mohammed's tenure has been a disaster. That's the flag bearer of the NPP. And also the New Age says Mohammed's Ford gift not conflict of interest. That's according to Mr. Bagman. And also here on the New Age, apply your principle in MPP. I said Winketia tells Akufo-Addo. The Daily Statesman says what chiefs confer Abutari Hene title on Nana Akufo-Addo, and the Public Agenda says PPP has best plans for meeting SDG commitments. ICEDEX analysis shows, and Wakam questions potency of Ghana's mining law. The Daily Guide says Nanato has no cancer, doctor breaks silence, and moderator rejects Peace Council post. I guess these stories will also attract our attention. The others are yet to the newspaper. Zongo's route for Indum, The Punch, NPP court. As Gabi's text message exposes them. These are stories on some pages of today's newspapers. My guest in the studio this morning, to my left is Member of Parliament for the Tema East constituency, Daniel Ni Kwate Titus Clover. I got the name right this morning. Good morning.
That's why you started the
yes, that's the only way to, when you fall, you pick up the pieces and put them together. I hope you're doing good.
By the grace of God,
Great.
You can see that I'm around.
All right.
Has it not been His grace and favor, I wouldn't have been here this morning.
All right. I'm grateful. Welcome once again. And then to my right, is the aspiring member of Parliament of the NDC for the Cape Coast North constituency. Good morning.
Morning.
And I hope you're good.
I'm doing
I was in Cape Coast over the weekend. Such a great festival, and I'm sure a lot of campaigning went into it.
Well, it's not campaigning. This is a traditional festival for all of Cape Coast, and therefore you cannot turn it into a partisan political issue. You just have to go with the flow and let the event take its own course.
All right. All right. We're grateful, and thanks once again for joining us. And are you joining the president this morning?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Right. Then to my extreme right is the CPP's National Communications Director, Kadri Abdul Rauf Isifu. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, right.
And I hope you're doing good.
I'm doing very great.
And Mr. Greenstreet, I'm sure has been running around.
Sure. At the moment, as we speak, he's actually outside Accra. He's somewhere in the Volta region, sending our Apanfufro, message to Ghanaians. And the feedback that we are getting is quite encouraging. So we have said repeatedly that no matter the danger for the trade, our stakes are high.
Right. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Let's start with this one, and this indeed will attract attention this morning. 3 months to elections. The Daily Graphic is suggesting that the public wants to know where the manifestos, apart from the IPP and apart from some other parties, the CPP, the NDC, the NPP are yet to release their manifestos officially, even though some have suggested that bits and pieces of the manifesto are being released gradually into the public domain by some of the campaign messages they threw out. But the Daily Graphic this morning is saying that the public wants to know. Ralph, let me start with you this morning. For the CPP, 3 months to elections and the manifesto not out, how worrying is that?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying a very good morning to the flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, and then our National First Vice Chairperson, Hajia Hamdatu, for the good work that they are doing out there. We want to pray for God's protection for them, and then we are also praying that there should be a fruit for the work that they are undertaking currently. I haven't said this. I think that it has to always be explained that manifesto is supposed to be, statements of a party's intent. And then, as you rightly indicated, much of the things that we would see as political parties to Ghanaians as a way of convincing them to buy into our agenda of nation building has partly been said or fully been said. For the Convention People's Party, I can say that our manifesto will be out in no small time. And then probably the delay in our manifesto can be explained this way. Previously, there has been an assumption, which I can say most of the political parties in the country are guilty of, where when it comes to purposes of manifesto writing, a group of experts will just sit in Accra and assume certain things for the masses of the people. But this year around, the Convention People's Party has taken a completely new approach to our manifesto. That is why we have rightly described our manifesto as People's Interactive Manifesto.
Right.
And by People's Interactive Manifesto, what we mean is that we have traveled the length and breadth of the country, interacting with the people and taking their views so that will make it the trust of our manifesto. And then I think that for the first time in our history, we are coming out with a manifesto that is going to deal with the problems of the people in a way as a problem appears. So, for example, we have not assumed problems for the people. We have undertaken an effective needs assessment, and that has actually been the strategy. This time round, our manifesto is not going to be a top-down, it's a bottom-up kind of approach, explaining why there's been some significant delay. We have traveled around the country. We have actually met with groups. We have met with communities. We have interacted with them. What are the things that we want the NDC and the MPP to do that they are not doing? Right. And the people have brought up a number of ideas. And Bright, you'll be shocked. Some of the ideas, you'll be shocked. And that is why I'm even particularly happy about the fact that if you get to interact directly with the people, you are able to do projects that will stand the test of time. But where you sit in Accra and assume problems for people, you go and put projects, the projects will be there, and then they will disregard the project.
So that is why the delay.
So for the Convention People's Party, it took us time because traveling around the country and collating the views of Ghanaians is quite an uphill task. And then we are done, and our manifesto will be launched in no small time. I think that all the things that has to be done, we have actually, we are through with them. Our experts have also looked at it after the views that we have taken, and they have put it within its proper context. And I'm very positive that in no small time, our manifesto will be out. And we are promising Ghanaians that our manifesto is going to be a silver bullet to their problem. We actually have tackled, the key, problems in our country. So, for example, you would notice that some civil society organizations and research institutions have conducted a number of research wanting to know the key or critical issues that Ghanaians would likely vote on. Unbeknown to the Convention People's Party, in our interaction, we were also able to establish this. So when we heard that Imani and then IEA and other institutions, brought up research findings, it resonated and coincided with what we have already. So we are very positive that for the first time, we are going to bring a manifesto which would address the people's problem in the best interest of the people.
Ralph, I'm grateful. Mr. Titus Glover, some have suggested that this situation is not too good for Ghana's democracy. 3 months to elections, some parties have no manifestos.
Thank you very much. Right, and excuse me. Good morning to all your viewers, especially in Tema East. There's a saying in our language that when the old man is in the bathroom bathing and she delays in coming out, The understanding is that she is preparing herself very well to come out of the bathroom. I concede that some Ghanaians have expressed interest, i.e. NGOs and some civil society organizations, that we in the major political parties have not been able to come out with our manifesto and all that, and the fact that they want to see whatever we want to do. I can assure them that better late than never. We will definitely come out with our manifesto. They are fine-tuning all the bits and pieces together in all the sectors that, God willing, when Ghanaians give us the mandate, we'll come to deal with. But alongside, you could see that once in a while, our flag bearer and his running mate, once in a while, comes out with few of these areas in the manifesto. I recall when it was in the Western region. One major issue is about the development in the Western region. And we all know that the Western region is really the natural resource hub of our country. All the resources, talk about the minerals, the oil, the cocoa, and whatever. But when you look at the way the region is done, particularly for the northern parts of the Western region, that is why he said that, look, the Constitution allows us to create a new region. You recall former President Rawlings when he carved the Upper West from the Upper East region. And a lot of development have gone over the place from his time to now. So carving the current Western region into a region of Western North region is also ideal, so that we'll be able to bring development right to the doorstep of the people. Aside that, you look at cocoa production. The Western region is leading when it comes to cocoa production in this country. And there's a lot that need to be done to really revamp these cocoa sectors and all that. Then also, some factories in the cocoa industry that has really gone down. We need to reactivate and all that. The private sector, we always say, is the vehicle, is the engine of growth. But the private sector is suffocating. When you look at the management typology economically of this country, the private sector is not doing well. Why do I say this? Because government is still competing with this private sector in the sourcing of loans in our local banks. The cost of doing businesses. You look at tariffs that these private sectors are also paying. It's also affecting us. So he's saying that, look, I want to make sure that the private sector will be given that support that they need. Aside that, when he moved up north, and he has been one of the attacks from our colleagues from the other side that is over-promising for that matter, it is critical in agriculture. This is the mainstay of this country. 60% of the people of this country can be found in agriculture employment. Today, the old men and women are aging. Agriculture is not being attractive for we, the youth, to go into that profession. And for that matter, what do we do? Last year, agric was 0.4% contribution to GDP. When the Minister of Finance came to the chamber, this year, it has come to 2.5%. It means that government had not been so serious in the tackling of the challenges that is the agriculture sector. When you go to the Maputo Convention, when presidents in Africa met years ago, they agreed, they resolved that 10% of their budget must be spent in agriculture. And here, they are spending less than 1.1, 1.2%. And even that, it is the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Fisheries and Agriculture that jointly benefit from this 1.2, 1.1%, which is seriously woefully inadequate. So this is what we're looking at. Then came the issue of the dam construction. Throughout the year, when you go up north, out of the 12 months, they only have 3 months of rainfall. This is my brother from the north. 9 months has been throughout the sun. How do we bring some water levels, to make sure we create these dams that our farmers will have the opportunity? Of course, not only dam that really support agriculture. We have other things, like tractors, like fertilizers, like agric extension offices, and all that. But you realize that because we have over-dependent on rain-fed, with the 9 months absence of rains, it makes the food production quite difficult and so Herculean. So I think that, yes, the manifesto is very important. It gives us what we wanted to do as a political party should we come to office. So I want to assure them we are still working on it. My colleagues, I heard the Sedun Ketia saying that they don't copy from losers. When I was coming on Joint News, it's the same question was posed on it because NDC has not been able to come up with their manifesto, and they said they don't copy from losers. But you recall the Northern Development Fund that Akufo-Addo came that idea with, the concept that he came up with. Because you don't own that concept, if you decide to plagiarize it, you fall into problems. And that is why the Savannah Accelerated Development has been a vehicle of development.
So you already ruled that it was plagiarized. That's
of course. They only changed the title.
I see.
To include certain parts of the country to make, but the concept and idea is making about the Northern.
That is, I'm grateful. So at least for you, the point that your flag bearer is releasing bits and pieces of the manifesto. We're grateful. Let me go to Honorable Kobie Champon. Perhaps is it not because there's no law specifically asking parties to release manifesto within a certain time frame? That is why perhaps the voters don't have the manifestos of some parties.
Well, first let me say a good morning to our cherished viewers and good morning to the people of Cape Coast North. To answer your question, let's do a little backdrop. In our political dispensation, we've always used manifestos to basically inform the population of what we intend to do. And I always see manifestos as the last line of a major communication approach that parties employ. Because normally, you will talk about what you've done in the past if you have been in government before. And then you come to talk about what you want to do. So that is the last line. We in the NDC have had our manifesto done since June.
2016?
Yes, it was done since June. The reason why it hasn't been launched is that we follow a normal path in terms of campaigning. We first launched our campaign, which we did in Cape Coast. It was to be followed by the manifesto launch. But due to programming shifts with the president, we had to postpone the 2-week period. And now it has been firmly fixed for the 17th of September. So we are looking forward to launching the manifesto on the 17th of September. Now, what is going to be contained in our manifesto? It is a program of intentions, but it's a program of intentions that is carrying over from what we have accomplished in the last 4 years. We have engaged in massive infrastructural development. We've done so much and we want to continue it. Listen, from 2017 to 2020, we believe strongly the economy would expand by almost between 8 to 10 billion US dollars. And therefore our manifesto is taking consideration of those developments and putting in place the kind of things that will enable us to achieve those things. So for us, this manifesto game as to who has what is a non-starter. What is fundamentally possible for us is that the manifesto is ready and will be launched on September 17th. The president will begin to speak about certain salient features of the manifesto as he goes on the campaign trail. And therefore, my appeal to the public is that they should exercise a little patience. Between now and the 17th, it's not too far off. They will see a full-fledged NDC manifesto that takes into consideration the plans that the National Development Planning Commission have envisaged for the country, that takes into consideration the sustainable development goals, that takes into consideration the economic paradigms that we think are going to be needed between 2017 and 2020. And these are the things that will be clearly spelled out when we launch our manifesto. So it's not that we just deliberately decided not to launch the manifesto. And we don't copy from losers, like Sedun Ketia said. We don't do that. We don't have that time. We've been in government. We know what we are doing. We know what we can achieve with what we want to do. And therefore, we don't need to spend time copying from
others.
And so if you think that if you give voters some 3 months to read, is that enough for you?
Of course, 3 months might necessarily not be enough for some people who want to do an in-depth critique of a manifesto. But generally, 3 months, 90 days is a long time for people to get the salient points in the manifesto that will be launched on September 17th.
I'm grateful. Ralph, a quick reaction there. So for the two parties that you're seeking to contest, so the one in government and then your other opposition member, they claim that September 17, Mr. Kobi Chambo has confirmed for the NDC. Titus is suggesting that the MPP's own will come, and you have also agreed that yours is coming soon. And I put that question to him: the 3 months that will allow voters the chance to go through, is that enough?
Well, I think that it depends. For some people, definitely it's going to be enough for them. And for some people, they will need time to meticulously, study the document. But even beyond that, it has to also be explained that it appears that we have a certain kind of political system in this country where most people are likely to vote not because of your manifesto. We have people who vote on primordial considerations. People who just vote because let's for example, I'm a northerner. So the president is a northerner, I'm going to vote for the president. There are people like that. There are people who say that because I'm Akan, I'm going to vote for a party that is most likely to promote an Akan agenda. And there are people who vote on the issues that have been, argued out. And I think that as we move forward as a people, we've got to reach a stage where people would vote on the basis of the strength of argument that is being put forward by the political parties. And you will notice that the Convention People's Party, since our inception, we have always appeared national, and we have always made arguments which are national. We've made arguments which are time-tested and then scientific. And we actually enjoined and entreat the people of Ghana to vote on the basis of not just the manifesto, but also the sincerity. You see, there is difference between the message and the messenger. So, for example, if you have a good message and the messenger himself has credibility issues, has problems, concerning his or her character, which is doubtful, there's going to be a problem. So in this particular election, we have argued that yes, the message and the manifesto is important, but also the messenger must be examined. And then Green Street has always said that we offer truth, we offer sincerity, and we offer honesty. And we have always said that there is yet to be a development which will be more important than a development which is done in the best interest of all the people. And that is what the Convention People's Party represents. So yes, manifesto is good, but also the character and the moral composition of those, behind the manifesto is equally important.
I'm grateful. Tata, let me pick your views on this, and then we'll wrap up on this particular one. 3 months to allow voters to go through your intentions. You think is good enough?
When you look at this time frame, seriously and sincerely, people who are really interested in this manifesto would be basically people in academia. They wanted to do a lot of study as to whether what we, the political parties, are bringing on board is really what we can do.
Should that be the case? Only academia
You see, majority of our people have no time to go into the books called manifesto. People want jobs. They don't have jobs. Okay? The youth have finished school. They are roaming the street of Tema East. They come to my office with applications. MP, what are you doing to support us to get jobs? The jobs are not there. The tariffs we are paying on utilities are so dear, so exorbitant. They can't afford it. What is your government going to do about it? And another said, those taxes that are there is something critically I want to look at. You go to Tema Industrial Hub, then the manufacturing sector is dying. The manufacturing is dying. What are you going to do? Corruption, that has become a profession in this country. People are caught in corruption and they are treated with kid gloves. With finesse. No. What is this? So why are you going to tackle it? And he said, look, Adoko Father is saying that God willing, when I come, the first thing I need to do is to set up an independent prosecutor to delink it from the Attorney General's office so that we can deal with that independently in fighting corruption. Do you understand? So clearly, when you ask me 3 months, in terms of academia, lecturers, professors, doctors, somebody can sit down today, pick a whole manifesto, within seconds, a minute, he can gloss through them. And he can tell you what his mind is made up. So 3 months is quite a lot. It's quite a lot that people who wanted to know how serious these manifestos are can easily pick up from that. I can tell you, it's academia, civil society organizations who are really bent on seriously to see the manifesto. But the majority of our people, you come to my place, people, hustlers, they are going to the port to go and hustle. To have food to eat this morning, they don't really have.
Okay.
He wants you to go
they
and
don't
read
care
manifesto.
about manifestos. Okay. Right. Okay. Could be a quick one there.
Yes, that's why I disagree with Titus. I mean, the manifesto will be examined by all and sundry. Let's recall 2012 elections when the NPP promised free SHS. Was that a manifesto agenda? Yes.
It was.
Didn't we hear everybody or most people shouting?
You parents,
Exactly. They put up political ads on TV which clamored for Kayaye everybody to go to free SHS. So if you tell me that it will only be pursued by people in academia and NGOs, I have a fundamental difficulty with that. Everybody knows what they benefit from the manifesto. Every Ghanaian. In our construction of 123 senior high schools, we are meeting the needs of every Ghanaian in the communities in which those schools are sited. So to say it's only academia and civil society groups that will benefit, we believe in the NDC that our manifesto will meet the needs of every Ghanaian and not a section of Ghanaians. We want to make that very clear. It will meet because every program that we put in place will have the impact on a certain group of people. And that is what the manifesto is supposed to do. The manifesto is not for a group of people versus others. It is for all Ghanaians to benefit from.
Now, let me clarify this quickly. I'm not saying that manifestos generally are not in the interest of our people. Your question was, in terms of the time, do we think that it is feasible, it is appropriate? And I'm saying that
allow the voter down there enough time
because
to peruse
automatically, when the manifestos are implemented, it is for the general good of the populace. You understand? So I'm not different from what Kobe is saying. Your question was that, do I think that the 3 months left, it is good that this manifesto should be kept in the dark without bringing it out? And that's what I was trying to explain. But every manifesto, at the end of the day, if it is operational, it is the people who benefit.
I'm grateful, Ralph.
But just to also add to this bit, you know, it is an objective reality in Ghana that majority of our people do not vote on manifesto. This is an objective reality.
They don't read or they don't vote.
They don't really actually read. They don't care about the argument that you have even put. Because, for example, I have seen, you know, civil societies argue over the period that in terms of social policies, the Convention People's Party has always presented very social policies. The Ghanaians have actually not voted for the Convention People's Party in a manner that they should, if it is true that we have presented best social policies. So it is an objective reality in Ghana that majority of the people, they have their minds made up. For example, if somebody has made up his mind that he's coming to vote for Ivor Kobna Green State, and you think you bring CPP manifesto and point weaknesses in it, you think that it is strong enough to dissuade that person from voting for the convention?
That is what you think. That will not dissuade the person.
Yeah, because that is likely, you know, the argument. Because truly speaking, for example, just look at the NPP and the NDC. Me, I know people, I have friends who are staunch NDC. And then we have had arguments, and then I'll point weaknesses in NDC promises. And even sometimes there are policies. And that, my friend, very intelligent guy, he will say, yeah, that is very true. But it is not enough to make him not vote for NDC.
I see.
Or the MPP. So it is an objective reality that, yes, manifesto is good. the majority of our people do not vote on manifesto. If they were to vote on manifesto and the kind of argument that have been made, I believe the Convention People's Party should win every election in this country.
I'm grateful for that. Let's stay with the graphic. Ghana makes headway with IMF program. The story says the Minister of Finance has said the progress so far made regarding the third review of the IMF's extended credit facility is satisfactory and indicative of the government's commitment to the program. Now, the IMF team sure has met the government's team, and a lot of discussions have gone on. Now, we're told that the latest discussions were a follow-up to the IMF mission in April and May, after which a number of prior actions, some of which were entirely new, were introduced by the IMF, including the approval of a public financial management law by Parliament and the amended Bank of Ghana Act by Parliament, and a strategy to address the debt and financial situation of state-owned organizations, and other issues have been taken care of. So, Mr. Kobi, but let me start here with you. There was some kind of that clouds over the program when the third tranche wasn't coming in. Now, Daily Graphic is reporting Ghana has made a headway with it. The finance minister said that the review has been satisfactory and it's indicated government commitment to the program.
Yes, you know, when we started this IMF program, there were a lot of skeptics who thought the program would never see the light of day or would never be completed in the manner that it was fashioned out. But consistently, we are seeing that we've met the first tranche, we've met the second tranche, and obviously we are going to meet the third tranche, which means what the government set out to do has been achieved broadly. And once that has been achieved, it behoves on the IMF to also meet the government in terms of what it looked for. So for me, this issue of its achievement tells us that, look, the plan was supposed to have been done in a way, and the plan seems to have met the satisfaction of both partners, being IMF and the Ghana government. And that, for me, is the clearest indication that we are on track in terms of how we run our finances. That is the happiest thing that can happen, because, you know, when you're a government and you enter an IMF program, especially with the thinking of those days where they had all kinds of restrictions on you, and you were facing an election, you would ask yourself, is it better to enter the program now or wait till after the elections? But this government took the bold step. Regardless of elections coming up, they decided to enter the program and consistently have met the tenets of the program, which has resulted in the third meeting going on successfully for the third tranche of finances to be released to bolster the economy. So, for me, it's a lot of good news, and it shows that consistently when we work at something, we can get it rightly done.
I'm grateful. Titus, a quick one there. The word concerns, as I put it to Mr. Champon, that the program had come to a halt because of certain things that had to be dealt with, particularly members of parliament who had to pass that Bank of Ghana Act. But there is good news this morning as far as the Daily Graphic is concerned.
Thank you very much. I don't see that as a good news. Why? Because ontologically, when you look at where we were before this government put a neck into this IMF program, it was totally avoidable. Because if you are not thrifty enough, if you are not so disciplined enough in the way you spend, you know, and you end up crying for credibility. Because I recall when His Excellency the President was in Senche, one serious statement that he talked about was the issue about credibility of our finances. And for that matter, he has to rush to the IMF. The IMF is like a big brother. He tells you to sleep at 6 o'clock. You go and sleep at 6 o'clock. But if you are well disciplined enough, you don't overspend recklessly. You know, we wouldn't have gone to IMF. In 2012 elections alone, Office of Government Machinery spent about 300 million Ghana cedis. National Ministry of Youth and Sports, 30 million Ghana cedis, about 300 billion old Ghana cedis. And that was where the JIDA corruption came out from. NADMO, 30 million Ghana cedis. In 2012 elections, I never heard of any force majeure compelling the NADMO to go and make their support whatever they do. And it created a big hole in our finances. Now, whatever money that you bring in, it falls down. The Bank of Ghana have to absorb it. You recall the Eurobond that they took the $1 billion. Quickly, because they took the money from the Bank of Ghana, immediately they had the money. Quickly, Bank of Ghana have to sit on the money. Now, what are the conditions that goes with this IMF? Recently, the TUC, in their recent delegate conference in Kumasi, the president was told on the face that the IMF program is not good enough for us. One of the high tariffs that workers and Ghanaians are paying for, that we cannot bear it. Number two, wage freeze. Look at the students who have finished school. Government public sector workers can't get jobs to do. They are in their homes. They finish school and they are looking at the faces of their parents to give them money every morning. And again, I want to say it here and now. In 2017, touch wood, if NDC should win this election, they are going to sack people from the public sector. I'm telling you, and they want to massage.
You must have been working with government to know.
My brother, I'm a member of parliament. We know what is going on.
All right.
And they tell you, oh, it is not so. And we know these NDC people. I'm telling you, don't sack people. So if you are watching me and you are in the public sector, be careful. Those of you, you'll be very careful. This electricity matter that we are talking about is part of the conditions. Government is owing UCG billions of cedis. Why are they not paying? Why is government not paying? That is why the workers are livid. If government is able to pay part of their debts, I'm sure we'll all be at peace. All of us sitting here, now we're on prepaid. Pay as you go. You go and pay, they load your credit meter for you. Why is government not fulfilling its debt? And they want to pass this on to us. And again, when you look at the Electricity Company of Ghana, their commercial wing is privatized because they have private people who are really selling their credit for them. You get your money, you go and pay, they load the credit for you, then you also go and sell it in retail. The laying of lines, erection of poles in various villages and all that, it is not done by UCG workers. They have subcontracted it to private people, and that's what they do. Today, the waste, before they sacked this their former managing director, he has been able to reduce the level of waste. They call it system losses or that kind of thing. He has able to reduce it. You have the PURC threshold and you have the international threshold. But the gentleman have forgotten the percentage, but he has been able to reduce the percentage drastically, which means that gradually they are getting there. So why seriously pushing our neck into this UCG business? It's all part of the IMF conditions that we're talking about. For us, it's already there. It is the same people who have to bring us out of the IMF. And the president is saying that God willing by next year, they will take us out. MPP who were there, but we managed to win ourselves from these British institutions, to manage the resources so well. The little that we have, we're able to manage and let the country run. Now you've put us there. There are no jobs for the youth. What do? High tariffs we are paying. And at the end of the day, these high tariffs we pay in terms of people in productional areas, they will pass it on to the consumer. And it becomes a vicious cycle. What do?
I'm grateful. I'll come back on this one. Rauf, it is good because there were some dark clouds over it, but the MPP says, well, it's not good because you didn't manage our resources well and took us there. But the Daily Graphic is reporting this morning that we have made headway with the program. The discussions for the third tranche is over, and the finance ministry says it is satisfactory. I think some is it 91 million, 900 and something million dollars. I am unable to get the exact figure. Ralph.
Well, I would want to ask a question. What was Senchi all about? We all were in this country when the NDC government assembled Ghanaians from all walks of life at Senchi. And if my understanding were right, we're made to believe that they wanted to come out with homegrown solutions to our problems. So I would minimally expect to be hearing, news from the IMF again. In fact, when it comes to IMF, the Convention People's Party, our choices on IMF is very clear. We are strongly opposed to any kind of facility that would actually undermine the independence of our people. So now we have also argued over the period that IMF has one single medicine, and irrespective of the sickness, that is the medicine that you will be forced to administer. And that medicine is about austerity, cut interest, reduce, increase taxes, and then that of interest. So it doesn't really matter. And then also there should be subsidy, you understand. And we have said that a country like Ghana, it is mandatory that government should subsidize several sectors of the people's life. So for example, as Honorable Titus argued earlier, agriculture, 60% of Ghanaians are in the agriculture sector. And I even want to add that if you go to the rural areas, about 90% of the people do activities which are related either directly or indirectly to agri. So for example, we are opposed to any IMF conditionality that would ask government to withdraw subsidy from agri. And then also, apart from that, you find that Ghanaians are very enterprising. Our people are bringing up all sorts of ideas so that they can also have opportunity to put money in their pocket to be able to solve their daily problems. So now, if you ask that interest rates should be increased, and then what are you directly telling the people? So when it comes to IMF, the Convention People's Party has always said that, look, any kind of facility that would actually undermine not just the independence of our people, but also the happiness and the safety of our people, it has to be rejected. You recall that in 2008, when NDC came into power, for more than 3 years or 4 years, I don't know if the ban is lifted, the government was, debarred from, employing Ghanaians. And as Titus mentioned earlier, on yearly basis, so many of our youth are being churned out of the universities and polytechnics with no jobs to do. Certainly, what would you expect? There is going to be upset, in social vices. And no wonder this morning I was reading a news story that, police officers are engaged in armed robbery. Police officers. So if those who are supposed to maintain law and order themselves engage, in activities of armed robbery, then what does it tell? It reminds me of.
They are not just bad ones.
It reminds me of a Dagomba proverb that says.
Well, at least they are working, so if they are engaged in armed robbery, then they must be bad now.
Now that is why I'm saying that. But the point that I want to make is that. So, for example, they are supposed to maintain law and order, and they themselves are also engaged in armed robbery. I recall an instance where someone told me that they were coming from Tamale to Accra, and then they were attacked, and they ran to a nearest police station, and the police said that they could do nothing about it. And all these things has bearing on the lives of our people. And I wanted to give a Dagomba proverb that says that if you go to a village where the chief of the village himself would do some kind of funny haircut, what kind of cut do you expect the youth to have on their head?
What do you mean?
For example, if you go, there used to be this cut called punk. So if you go to a village where the village chief puts on punk, what do you expect the youth? What kind of haircut do you expect the youth to have? So I think that in summing up, I have to stress on the idea that yes, IMF probably in our time, I think that another opportunity for development has come. South-South development cooperation. Now China is emerging, and then some people are even saying that there are words are being lacked to describe the rate at which the Chinese growth is coming. We can promote growth with China. Because IMF, we all know that their conditions are draconian. Their conditions are hellish. And then Obasanjo, I recall some time ago, said that any country that organizes itself on the prescriptions and policy directives of IMF, you are going to fail in life. And I want to pose a question. If there is one country around the world that was hitherto poor, backward, maybe having a stable economy, and through IMF advice and then prescription, they have now been able to make it in life, I want such a country to be mentioned. Since the inception of the IMF. So these are some of the issues. So the Convention People's Party said that IMF, maybe when we have to explore, other avenues by which we can promote the development of the country. And I've argued, even Dubai, so many places, depending upon how you are able to set down, trade relationship. So I think that the government has got to sit up we recall so quite clearly in our minds that in St. we were told that they were coming out with homegrown policies. And I believe that that should realistically be the solution to our problem. Because IMF, they have exogenous, policies. So, for example, the initial thinking that goes into the formulations of their theories and then what have you, do not have in mind the circumstances and the needs of our people. So, as a serious country, that is why I told you earlier that the Convention People's Party, we are doing People's Interactive Manifesto, so that you can get to the people. Look, even if you go to a rural areas, you'll be shocked with the kind of ideas that people can, give, that can actually bring about, the wealth that we all want to create in our country. Right. So we've got to make sure that, yes, we pay attention to homegrown policies. Let's actually look within, because for a very long time, we have looked without.
And we're not getting the results.
So let's look within. Yeah.
Okay. I'm grateful. Mr. Champo, you can, because your critics are suggesting that even taking us there itself is problematic.
You see, right. The issue is this. In this country, I cannot recollect any government that has never been to the IMF. In this country, we are a member of the IMF.
Does it mean it is good? Because every government is been there?
We all go when you need to go. When you don't need to go there, you don't go there. But when you need to go, you go. Because you pay dues. And therefore, the facilities there are for you. Now, my friend is talking about IMF as if we are in the 1970s. The IMF now has changed so much. In fact, now they rely mostly on your own policies that you've developed as the basis for granting you the help you need.
But they'll give you a
please. They give you
Ralph,
the opportunity.
They
give you the opportunity to develop your own policies, and then they bring their bread to bear on it, so you can carry out those policies. 2009, when the NDC took over from the NPP, we were in an IMF program. I recollect Dr. Dufour writing to the IMF. We were in an IMF program. So it is not as if it's one government that comes and takes us to the IMF, others don't. Consistently, People's National Party took us to IMF. Under Dr. Hilal Iman, they took us to the IMF. So this issue of browbeating the IMF into submission, for me, is a non-starter. You are a country. When you go through a certain period where you need to go to the IMF because you are a member, you must go. Because you continuously pay your dues. And if it is going there that will enable you get a certain level of relief, you go and do it. That's it. So I wonder which one of these parties will come to power and say they are withdrawing from the IMF program.
They think, Ralph thinks that for the CPP they won't go there.
You see,
he talks about China and emerging economy.
I'm telling you,
he thinks that is the direction.
Right, it is talk.
Oh, I see.
It is just talk, political talk. They will all follow the program. And please, Titus, nobody is about to be sacked. I mean, you are making a categorical statement that people will be sacked. There's no scintilla of evidence to support what you are saying. Nobody is going to be sacked. If you have your job and you are doing your job right, why should you be sacked? If you have your job and you are doing your job right, why should you be sacked? And you see, they constantly say unemployment. Government has consistently said in health and education, there is employment going on. And yet, so we make it look like there's nothing happening.
So there's no freeze or employment in the public sector, health and education.
Exactly. There's employment going on. Perhaps the number of people to be employed has fallen short. Granted, yes, that is true. But there is employment going on. People are being employed on a daily basis. We are employing teachers, we are employing nurses. Today, we have more nurses than we need in this country.
I heard about the president talked about 1,000 lecturers that he had agreed. And the Utah comes out and says that they are not sure about it. Perhaps is that not what is causing the confusion?
Fine, but there is employment going on. We have more nurses than we perhaps need in this country. And therefore, you see nurses always wanting to be in government employment because they are bounded. But because we have more than we actually need, what is happening? We have some who are still waiting to be employed. We must have an understanding of these issues and work towards reducing the number of nurses who are unemployed. Those are the things that the government is doing. So this constant harping on unemployment, high levels of unemployment, there are jobs that are there for people. You see, I always continuously say, in Ghana, we don't have unemployment in the strict sense of the word. We have structural unemployment. Look, if I graduated from school and the first line of work for me to do is something in agric, I would say I wouldn't do it. Because I see my friends working in insurance, banking, I also want to be there. But the fact is, those circumstances under which they got there are different from my personal circumstances. I could work in agric and be employed and be happier than person working in banking. But we all want to go into banking. We all want to go into insurance. We all want to wear ties and sit in the office. I always use this guy who is in Tepa, who graduated and started tilapia farming. He started on a small scale. Today, he's the biggest producer of tilapia in the Ashanti region. And he's just doing it in tanks. You understand? We need to take the opportunities that come to us and take it seriously and work at it. It's not just about going in line because everybody is going here, we all go there. If we continuously do that, we will grind this country to a halt. We need to be ideas people. Look at new ways of doing things. Look, I ask myself, we have all these companies that are there in tourism. All that they do on a daily basis is organize events. How can you sustain yourself on organization of events? If you go to one event, 2 events, 3 events, you are tired. What about packaging the level of tourism in specific areas in the country? Because we have tourist sites all over the country, and selling these packages on a daily basis for people who come in from abroad, for the Ghanaian population. We are not thinking outside the box.
What about your critics who say that, look, I want to start a small business, but interest rates are high, I can't go on the commercial market to borrow, and so they don't even have what it takes to start something.
You see, if you want to start a small business, what do you need?
Money, of course.
You need money. But you say you are starting a small business. What level of smallness is your business? We need to cut our coats according to our sizes. We just don't do what everybody else is doing. There is credibility in starting small and building it up. That is how economies grow. In the United States, do you know the number of small-scale industries that hold that economy? Countless. It's not only the giant industries. The small mom-and-pop shops around the neighborhoods who sell liquor, sell this, they are the ones that hold the economy because they employ 1, 2, 3, 4 people.
So how much, for instance, are you suggesting that people can start business with 100 cities, 200 cities?
You cannot start a business with 100 cities. But even then, you go into our local fishing communities. Give 100 cities to a woman and let her start selling granules. And go back in 6 months and ask her of her productivity. You see, she would have moved that money up. That is the reality. She would have moved that money up. They sell granite, they sell oranges, okay? And they sustain their families on those 2 things. Some go and buy fish, they smoke it and sell. They don't need a lot of capital. They don't need a lot of capital. All they need is a aluminium bowl that they can go for. There are things that we can do continuously to sustain ourselves. So let's be optimistic about this country, because I believe this country has a lot to offer us, and we also have a lot to offer the country.
I'm grateful. Title's coming.
Kobe said the IMF these days allows countries to develop their own programs. Granted. So it means that they drew the program that there should be a wage freeze. They drew the program that there should be high tariffs. Utilities. Please. Are you Kobe? Can I speak respectfully? Thank you. It means that they developed the program that there should be wage freeze. They developed the program that they should increase tariffs on utilities to make it so expensive that people and institutions cannot afford that. Again, he said there's employment going on. Are we not in this country when nurses have to go on demonstration?
He tried to explain it. The government has so many of them that the others
stop these things. When he was talking, you didn't interject and ask in this question.
I'm only saying that he made a point.
You've given the floor to tell you my side of the discussion.
Okay.
And I'm saying that he is saying that there's job ongoing in the health sector. And I'm saying that quite recently, they mass up at the offices of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations with placards. Some who have finished nursing training for years are begging government to give them jobs to go and do. For days they were there. At the end of the day, what happened? They were referred to Youth Enterprise Agency. Is that where they were trained to go and work?
Would you agree the government says that I have 10 nurses, that's what I need to work in the sector. Now there are 20 more out. So what I need to do is to find out where I can fix this 20 and not the fact that government is not employing them.
There are so many health institutions across the length and breadth of this country. I can tell you, the nurses that will graduate every year, when you go to the village, I served my 6-4 national service in 1989 in a village called Amonie, 12 miles from Enchi. And they have health center, not in Amonie village, but 2 villages away called Sewo. We have, when you are sick, you have to walk over there. There was one senior nurse and some health assistant that manages that place. So you can imagine pockets of all these health centers that we have in the country. If we send these nurses there, wouldn't they get jobs to do? It is because the IMF said we should not employ. That is why they are not employing.
Okay.
And that is the basic truth. Okay. Again, let me talk. He talked about tourism package. Because people in the tourism industry are interested in doing programs and what do you call it?
We talked about events.
Events. Beautiful. They are in government. 8 years. 8 years. I feel sad anytime I go to Adan and I sit down and I watch this water all the way going into the sea. We can't do anything about it. It's just some pockets of small hoteliers that are just at the banks of the river trying to make very good ends meet. And let me praise those few hotels that run the place. You are in government for 8 years. What policies are you giving to these people? They are the same people who are telling us the government is competing with them in the sourcing out of monies from the local banks. Because you cannot get up and go and look for money. Because my name is Liquid, I have a very black face. Because I want to go into tourism. I should be very innovative to see what I can do to promote tourism. But it's not easy. What arrangement have you put in place? 8 years. It is about leadership.
I see.
That is killing this country.
It is leadership. That's what you're suggesting. All right. Raouf, a quick one. I thought we could look at this ECJ then.
You see,
particularly when you wanted to raise a point about our policies and issues when he was talking about it.
Yes, you know, at least if you have studied the operation of the IMF and the World Bank for a very long time, you will come to the ultimate conclusion and realization that even if they give you the leeway to bring your own ideas, it is to be formulated within a certain template that they will provide. And the template does not actually have the best and the strategic interests of your people at heart. And that is why when Professor P.L.O. Lumumba came to Ghana and said that any time that the IMF is patting a country on its back, then that country has got to be worried. Because the IMF, we all know the agenda that they represent. And when Kobe was talking, I noticed that somehow, you know, he was not actually being sensitive to, you know, the plight of majority of Ghanaians out there. I do not believe that we have structural unemployment in Ghana alone. All the types of unemployment that I have studied in economics is prevailing in Ghana. Seasonal unemployment. Status made it very clear. When you go to the rural areas, they have one season, particularly in the north. And once that season is off, they would actually, all their plans would be, you know, waiting for the next, you know, rain to come. You understand? So seasonal unemployment is also there in the north and other farming communities in this country. And also I know technological unemployment. There are still many Ghanaians who are not up to minute with technology. And those people have been rendered, you know, unemployed. The point that has to be stressed is that poverty in Ghana is a reality. And it doesn't matter how you want to look at it. I know, as a matter of fact, that if you go to a rural area, there are people who cannot make 50 cedis saving at the end of a financial year. They can make 50 cedi and savings. So for such a person, if you ask him to expand his business, how on earth is he going to do it? And apart from that, the type of unemployment that we are talking about is graduate unemployment. Majority of our youth come out from the universities and polytechnics. They do not have any job to do. So if you want them to start up something, I believe that if you give a graduate 500 Ghana cedis to start doing something, it is really going to be very difficult, especially in Accra. Maybe in some jurisdiction, in some areas, it can start something, but in Accra. So that is the kind of argument that we are making. Poverty is a reality in Ghana, and perhaps the best way that we can deal with the poverty among our people is not on the basis of IMF prescription. No matter the government that IMF or the kind of face that IMF will put on, the intention and the objective of IMF has always stood the same. And I agree with Kobe when he actually said that, look, when CPP comes to power, we would have no option than to deal with IMF. I have said that any kind of arrangement that would undermine the independence and the prosperity of our people,
we will
resist it.
I see.
Can I make
okay, we'll wrap it up. Okay, let me give you a few seconds to also wrap up for you.
Yes. You know, he's talking about all these kinds of unemployment, and he's talking about university graduates. Fundamental question you ask: when you enter a university and pursue a course, what are your goals when you get out? Your personal goals. What are they? Talk to a lot of our young graduates. They've just been through the university. That's it. A lot of them cannot find personal goals that they want to accomplish.
Are you suggesting because of that the state should leave them on their own?
The state shouldn't leave them. But the fact is, you see, you must be ambitious about the things you want to do, and they take advantage of what the state has to offer.
I see. What's the state offering here?
That's the point. The state is offering a lot, but you see, most people don't even find the time to. I was in my constituency. I have a lot of graduates who are unemployed. You know, Youth Employment Agency has advertised a lot of their programs. Fundamentally, you have a 2-year period to get on a program. You'll be sustained with a stipend for 2 years, and then you can break into your own. They don't even have the knack to even apply. I said to them, like, why are you not applying? Oh, we've not seen it. We've not heard of it.
I see.
Go and have a real interaction with people, and you have a feel of what is going on. I'm not saying it's all rosy. There is a lot of poverty in this country, granted, yes. But you can also make a lot out of the same system. I've used the guy in Tepa as an example. He didn't start off rich, but he started from a small way, and consistently he's moved to a certain position. We need to take the bull by the horns and get some of these things done. We have a lot of young people. If you go to all these young guys who are now doing programming and writing applications and stuff, today those who are focused are making it. Those who are focused, because everybody needs an app for something, and they are making it. We can also continuously push people in that direction so that they can make it. It's a collective effort for us all together. It's not I sit alone, you sit alone. We have to move collectively and get some of these things done.
I'm grateful. Titus, wrap up in just 1 minute.
What I can say basically is that I tend to agree with Kobe to a point that every graduate that is trained, sometimes it's not only on your field. So long as you are trained, you should have the opportunity to explore, to make innovations. But in doing so, if you have the innovations, what has been the support systems in place that could support these students who are coming out?
The support system is key.
It's very key. If the support systems are there, because there are a lot of banks who are not even interested in startups. They don't even want to go there. You know, so I think that our graduates should be try and move out. And it takes very bold people who can be able to do all these things. Very, very minimal. If the support systems are very strong, I can see that we'll be able to move away from these white-collar jobs, because the white-collar jobs is choked. It's choked. So long as it's choked, there's not going to be any avenue for you to enter. Do you understand? So for me, I think that the best thing that we could do is that this government have not been able to manage this economy. If they manage to manage the economy will have expanded. The private sector will have been pushing government. So long as he's not being able to employ the private sector, if they are doing well, they'll be able to absorb some of these students who are coming into the labor market. But unfortunately, we are not seeing all these things. And I'm saying it's about leadership.
I'm grateful. Daniel Kwate Titus Glover is a member of parliament for Tema East. He's still asking for your mandate once again to represent in parliament. I'm grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
And Kobe Champon is the aspiring NDC candidate for the Cape Coast North constituency, asking that you vote for him and get him to parliament. We're grateful that you joined us this morning.
Thank you.
And Kadri Abdul Rauf Isifu is the CPP's National Communications Director. Ralph, we're grateful for your time too, and wish you the best too.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time once again. We're grateful. We'll hope to see you next time.